Okay, so there's this feeling a lot of us have, right? That nagging sense that something's fundamentally, well, amiss in how organizations work today.
Yeah, it's like a deep structural thing, not just small problems.
Exactly. Inherited from, the Industrial Revolution, all rigid hierarchies and just focusing on the bottom line, the financial profit. It makes you wonder, is there a totally different way?
Mm.
And that's what we're diving into today, this idea of the Teal Revolution. Okay, let's unpack this feeling, shall we?
Sounds good.
This isn't just another management buzzword, We're talking about a genuine new paradigm organization.
Right, a radically more soulful, more purposeful way to run things.
Yeah.
Businesses, nonprofits, schools, hospitals, the whole lot.
Teal signifies this next stage, an evolution in human consciousness, but applied to how we organize work. It promises productivity, sure, but also fulfillment, real purpose.
And the key figure here is Frederic Laloux. His book, Reinventing Organizations, self-published, amazingly sold over 1 million copies.
Wow, self-published.
Yeah, it just resonated. It links this organizational evolution directly to shifts in how we think, in human consciousness.
So where did Laloux come from? He wasn't always focused on this, was he?
No, not at all. It's fascinating, actually. He was a former associate partner with McKinsey and Company, right in the heart of the traditional corporate world.
Right. The belly of the beast, some might say.
Kind of, yeah. But then he had this personal crisis, and it made him see how, well, unhealthy those traditional structures really are, intrinsically so.
Okay.
He realized that just coaching individuals wasn't enough. You couldn't fix the people if the system itself was, flawed, broken.
So he shifted focus.
Completely. From fixing people to fixing the system, redesigning organizations from the ground up. And I think that authenticity coming from his own journey is what really fueled the book's success. It became this huge word-of-mouth phenomenon.
Okay, so Teal is positioned as an answer. How does it directly tackle the, let's say, the shadows of the models we have now? Like achievement orange, that's
Yeah.
the dominant one, right? All competition and profit.
That's the one. It brought us innovation, meritocracy, lots of good stuff.
But there's that emptiness. People feel it even when they're successful by those standards. How does Teal fill that void?
Well, that's the core of it. Teal fundamentally redefines success. It moves beyond just the financials.
How so?
It actually prioritizes values before profit. And the really surprising thing is, when you integrate individual growth and fulfillment with the company's progress, that's Teal's definition of success.
So my progress is the company's progress.
In a very real sense, yes. It challenges the whole foundation of modern business, doesn't it? It's this integrated view.
That's a massive shift. So how does it work in practice? What are the operating principles? How do they move from that old control mindset towards trust?
Yeah, trust is the key word. Teal has 3 core breakthroughs, and they all pivot on shifting from control to trust. They're all interconnected.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is self-management. Basically, Teal organizations find they don't need those rigid hierarchies or middle management, often.
No hierarchy. How does anything get done?
Through decentralization, decision-making power is distributed. It relies on peer relationships, peer agreements, and trust, trusting the collective intelligence of the employees. What's fascinating here is this radical reorientation of power dynamics. No bosses telling people what to do.
Okay, so trust in the team. What's next?
Next is wholeness. This is about encouraging people to bring their full selves to work, not just the professional, rational mask we usually wear.
You mean like the emotional side, intuitive, even spiritual aspects?
Exactly, all of it. The insight is when you welcome all those facets of human experience, you unlock this richer, deeper intelligence. You get more commitment, more creativity, more proactivity. Things traditional structures often stifle.
I see. And the third breakthrough?
Evolutionary purpose. This one's maybe the most different. Teal organizations are seen as like a living organism. They're constantly adapting, evolving.
Not driven by fixed 5-year plans, then?
Not really, no. It's more about listening, sensing, paying attention to the present, and asking, what does this organization want to become? What does it want to serve? Rather than imposing a rigid strategy from the top down, it's about sensing the next adjacent step.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for how organizations can truly make a difference. Do these breakthroughs naturally lead to things like sustainability, social responsibility? Does it go beyond just having a CSR department?
Absolutely. It's intrinsic, not an add-on. Teal organizations see themselves as part of a larger living system.
So they can't thrive if the environment or society isn't healthy.
Precisely. It's not about charity. It's about purpose and interdependence. You see it in examples like Patagonia employees starting wilderness protection campaigns, or Buurtzorg nurses in the Netherlands developing new social care initiatives.
And those weren't top-down orders.
No, they emerged organically from people bringing their whole selves, connected to the organization's evolving purpose. It just makes sense within that framework.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this raises an important question. What does success truly mean for organizations in the 21st century? Is it just profit anymore?
Teal argues quite strongly that it's not, or at least it shouldn't be. It's about that integrated view, thriving people, a thriving organization contributing positively to the world.
So what does this all mean for you listening and your path to becoming well-informed? It sounds like transitioning to Teal is, well, hard.
It is. It requires a really radical change in mindset. For leaders and everyone involved, it's definitely a difficult but worthwhile task.
And you probably don't just flip a switch, right? No organization is ever a pure breed, a perfect Teal example. It's a journey.
Exactly. It's continuous evolution. And what's also interesting is the Teal Revolution itself isn't some top-down framework either.
How do you mean?
It's more like a collaborative open-source movement. It's propelled by this really caring, generous community of readers and practitioners sharing what works. It kind of mirrors the self-management principles it talks about.
An ongoing conversation, then.
Yeah.
So maybe a final thought for you to mull over.
Yeah, consider this. What could happen if you started bringing more of your full self to work, beyond just the professional persona? What might that unlock? For your own fulfillment, sure, but also for the collective purpose of whatever group you're part of.
And what might be possible if your organization, whatever it is, truly started listening to its evolutionary purpose? Where could that lead? Yeah. Something to think about.
Ever looked at your workplace and wondered, not just what it is, but how it actually got that way?
Or maybe how it could change, evolve.
Exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the Teal Revolution. It's this really powerful framework for understanding how organizations transform.
And how that transformation is deeply linked, hand in hand, with the evolution of human consciousness itself.
Our guide for this is Frederic Laloux's book, Reinventing Organizations. It's pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, it is. We'll explore his color-coded paradigms, red, amber, orange, green.
And then make that leap into what he calls Teal, the really new stuff.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The core idea, Laloux's central point, is that organizations aren't static things.
Right, they evolve, just like people do.
Exactly. They develop through these distinct stages. And each stage, well, it was a brilliant solution for the problems of its time.
And there's always a but, right?
Always. Each stage brought breakthroughs, definitely, but also carried its own unique limitations, its shadows, you could say.
Which then sort of paved the way for the next leap.
Precisely. It's fascinating how the problems, the friction, at one level of consciousness almost necessitated the shift to the next. It allowed for bigger scale, better coordination.
But created new issues along the way.
New shadows, yeah.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Red, the wolf pack.
Red. Think power-based, fear-driven, very short-term focus, like street gangs or maybe some really dysfunctional startups even.
You can still see echoes of it, can't you? That kind of raw, top-down control based on whim and intimidation.
Absolutely. The breakthrough was a basic division of labor. Simple, but effective for small groups.
But fragile. Limited.
Very fragile. It couldn't really scale effectively because it relied so much on the leader's constant exertion of power that instability
led to a need for something more stable.
Exactly. The chaos of red created this hunger for order, for predictability, and that brought us amber, the army.
Okay, amber. Think rigid hierarchy, formal rules, processes, like the traditional military or the Catholic Church historically.
The breakthroughs here were huge. Long-term planning, stable structures. You could build pyramids with amber thinking, things that last.
But the downside, that rigidity.
Oh, yeah, deep rigidity. And a really strict separation of the thinkers at the top from the doers at the bottom. It often led to, well, dehumanization, bureaucracy.
Things feeling slow, impersonal.
Very impersonal, which naturally created pressure for the next shift.
Which brings us to orange, the machine. This feels like Well, everywhere still.
It's absolutely the dominant model today. Performance-driven, profit-focused, constant innovation, accountability, meritocracy, these are all orange hallmarks.
And it delivered, right? Unprecedented material wealth, technological
No
progress.
question, huge successes. But here's where it gets really interesting, like you said.
The shadow side of orange.
The shadow side. Despite all the success, orange often creates this soulless feeling. People treat it as resources, as cogs in the machine.
Leading to burnout, disengagement.
Yeah.
That quiet quitting thing we hear about.
That's the paradox, isn't it? If it's so productive, why do people feel so disconnected? It commodifies contribution, separates individual purpose from the organization's purpose.
So people started asking for something more human again.
Right. That disconnect eventually sparked the next stage. Green. The family.
Okay, green. Think values, empowerment, stakeholders, not just shareholders.
Yeah.
Ben Jerry's is a classic example, maybe.
Exactly. Places that really try to humanize work, focus on culture, employee well-being. A definite step forward in many ways.
Still tensions.
Still tensions. Often green tries to operate like a family but keeps the underlying orange hierarchical structure, the machine, that creates conflict. And sometimes decision-making can become really slow, consensus-driven to a fault.
So if orange has its limits and green struggles with its own contradictions, what's next?
This is where Teal comes in. The leap to the living organism.
Living organism.
Yeah.
Sounds radical.
It is radically different. Think organizations with effectively no traditional bosses, no fixed hierarchy, built fundamentally on trust and peer relationships.
Wow. Okay. How does that even work? What are the breakthroughs?
3 core breakthroughs. First, self-management.
Meaning?
Truly distributed power. People and teams manage themselves. Decisions often use something like an advice process. You consult relevant people, but you don't need layers of approval. It's about peer relationships, not command and control.
Okay, self-management. What's second?
Wholeness.
Yeah.
This is huge. It's about inviting your complete self to work, not just the professional mass.
Bringing your emotions, your intuition, your spirit.
Yes. Imagine the energy, the creativity, the commitment unleashed when people don't have to hide parts of themselves. Less code switching.
Okay, self-management, wholeness, and the third.
Evolutionary purpose. The organization isn't seen as a machine to be controlled, but as a living system with its own sense of direction.
So it adapts. Senses where it needs to go.
Kind of, yeah. It constantly adapts to its environment, its ecosystem. Purpose isn't just a mission statement decided at the top. It's something the organization continuously listens for and evolves towards.
This sounds amazing, genuinely transformative, but it also sounds difficult to achieve, especially for existing companies. What's the catch?
The catch. There's a really critical condition. It's not just about structures and processes.
It's about the people at the top.
Exactly. The CEO, and crucially the owners or the board, they must operate from what Laloux calls a Teal consciousness. They need to deeply understand and embody these principles themselves. Trust, wholeness, evolutionary purpose. It has to start there.
Because if they don't get it, or don't really believe it,
They'll undermine it, even unintentionally. We saw that with the BS Origin example. Laloux mentions a Teal-minded CEO couldn't sustain the changes because the ownership structure wasn't aligned. True reinvention needs that developmental leap right at the very top.
So we've journeyed from those red wolf packs, through amber structure, orange's drive, green's heart, all the way to the potential of Teal's living organism.
Each stage really did serve its purpose, solve problems of its time, but Teal seems uniquely suited to address the complexity we face now.
And that deep human yearning for meaning, for wholeness in our work lives.
Makes you wonder, what if the greatest innovation we need right now isn't some new technology or product?
But a fundamentally new way of being together, a new way of organizing ourselves at work.
Something to think about.
Definitely. And next time, we'll dig into the practical side, the real-world challenges, the mindset shifts needed to actually try and implement Teal principles. It's one thing to talk about it.
Quite another to make it happen. Looking forward to it. So how do these revolutionary organizations actually operate without managers? It's a pretty big question, isn't it?
It really is, a fundamental one.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the practical, the mechanics of Teal self-management. Our mission really is to get past the theory and uncover the tangible stuff like how are decisions actually made, how do they define roles, and what really underpins accountability in these advanced structures.
Yeah, moving beyond the buzzwords.
Exactly. This is for you, whether you're like prepping for a meeting or just genuinely curious about where work might be headed.
Right. And just to set the stage quickly, Teal organizations, they're seen as a big step forward, defined by three connected breakthroughs: self-management, wholeness, and evolutionary purpose.
Okay.
Today, we're really zeroing in on that first one, self-management, how it works on the ground.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Yeah.
Self-management, it fundamentally redefines control. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Does that mean managers are just gone? Or is it maybe more subtle?
It's a profound shift, yeah. So instead of traditional managers, you find that authority is really distributed widely among all team members.
All of them.
Yep. Think of them forming these dynamic circles or teams. They collectively own their work processes, schedules, you name it. It's about everyone stepping up in their own way.
That sounds liberating. But I imagine getting rid of job titles might make some people nervous. How do they figure out who does what without, a fixed job description?
Ah, that's where the idea of fluid roles comes in, and it's quite fascinating, actually.
Okay.
These aren't rigid lists of tasks. Think of them more like purpose-driven containers.
Sure.
They adapt as the needs change.
Containers. Interesting.
Yeah, and a key insight here is encouraging people to bring their whole selves, not just a polished work persona.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes individuals even use personal taglines, like a little motto almost.
Like what?
Oh, the problem solver or the connection weaver, something that highlights a unique strength beyond just a title.
I like that. Okay, so distributed authority, fluid roles, but how do they make the big decisions? Without a boss saying yes or no, doesn't that just lead to, chaos?
That's the common fear, definitely. And it brings us right to the core mechanism, the advice process.
The advice process.
Basically, any individual can make any decision, big or small, but, and this is the crucial part, first, they absolutely must seek advice from anyone significantly affected and from people with relevant expertise.
Must seek advice. But they don't have to take it.
Exactly. That's the kicker. Advice is simply advice. No one person holds veto power.
Right.
The decision maker keeps the final authority. But they're guided by this idea of inner rightness.
Inner rightness.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean? Is it just gut feeling?
It's more than just gut, though that's part of it. It connects the decision back to personal integrity, the organization's deeper purpose, the values. It's asking, does this feel truly right for us, beyond just the numbers? It demands real reflection.
Okay, I see. So underlying all this, the distributed power, the fluid roles, the advice process, it sounds like the real foundation is just trust. Massive amounts of trust.
You've hit it. That's the bedrock. Everything else is built on that.
And accountability flows from that trust, not from oversight.
Precisely. It's peer-driven, organic. It grows out of that mutual respect and trust. The commitment not to let your colleagues down. That's often way more powerful than any formal performance review.
Makes sense.
And this level of trust enables real psychological safety. People feel they can actually speak up, challenge things, admit mistakes, without fear. Transparency is huge here too.
Right. Sharing information openly.
Yeah, because everyone's trusted to handle it constructively, it builds resilience.
This all sounds amazing, but it's a massive change from the norm. What are the big challenges? Where does it go wrong?
Oh, it's definitely not easy. The transition can be really tough. Individuals can feel, lost without that traditional oversight. You can get this tyranny of structurelessness.
Tyranny of structurelessness.
Yeah, where the lack of clear rules paradoxically creates informal, often hidden power structures and confusion instead of real freedom. We also see organizations fall back into old habits, the pendulum of doom.
The pendulum of doom sounds ominous.
It is. Swinging wildly from tight control back to almost no accountability, maybe ending up in a kind of buddy culture where honest feedback just dies because everyone wants to be nice.
Ouch. Okay, so changing the org chart isn't enough.
Not even close. It requires a real upgrade of the organizational operating system, a fundamental shift in mindset.
From what to what?
From seeing the organization like a parent-child relationship, top-down control, assuming people need managing to an adult-adult relationship based on genuine mutual accountability.
Adult-adult. I like that framing.
And when resistance pops up, which it will, it's not something to just push through. It's actually a diagnostic signal. It tells you something's misaligned. You need empathy. You need to explore the fears underneath.
So wrapping up a bit, we've walked through these core mechanics. The distributed authority, the fluid roles, that crucial advice process, and this absolute bedrock of trust. And these aren't just theories. We see them working in places like Bertsorg, Morningstar, Patagonia.
Yeah, real companies doing real work for you, the listener really getting this, it shows the huge potential here for more engagement, more innovation, definitely more agility.
It feels like a step towards something more human.
I think so.
Yeah.
More conscious, human-driven, purpose-centric work. It's an evolutionary step, potentially.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on. In this world of self-management, the freedom to decide isn't absolute power. It's tied directly to this obligation, a non-negotiable one, to really engage with and consider the collective wisdom. What might that mean for how you think about collaboration and even your own responsibility in whatever context you're in?
Okay, let's unpack this. What if an organization wasn't just, machine geared for profit? What if it was more like a living thing with its own unique calling, a kind of North Star that actually evolves? Today, our deep dive is all about evolutionary purpose. It's a really core idea in these Teal organizations, not like self-managing, purpose-driven entities, almost like living organisms. Our mission, to really get how this dynamic thing is different from, say, a static mission statement. We'll look at real-world stuff and hopefully give you practical ways to, maybe cultivate this where you are.
Right. And at its heart, evolutionary purpose is, well, it's dynamic, it's emergent, you sort of discover it. It views the organization not as some fixed machine, but as a responsive living system, constantly sensing, adapting. Profit is still essential, absolutely, for survival, for growth. But it becomes the means to fulfill a deeper calling, not the end game itself. It's really an ongoing process, deep listening, basically, to the organization, its environment.
That sounds, profoundly different. But where do traditional places usually trip up when they try to embrace something so fluid? Moving away from that declaration etched in stone, handed down from the top.
That's a great point. Unlike that traditional, often fixed, sort of predictive purpose, this evolutionary kind is emergent, adaptive, always sensing. Decisions get distributed, but they stay aligned with that purpose. It acts as the critical glue for self-managing teams, It gives coherence, direction, stops things from just fragmenting when everyone has more autonomy. It allows that wholeness idea to really take root.
Okay, those distinctions are compelling. Can you maybe give us some examples? Where does this really come to life? It feels a bit abstract otherwise.
Absolutely. Patagonia is a great one, the outdoor gear company. Their mission to save our home planet, it genuinely guides everything they do. Product design, supply chain, it's their anchor, really authentic. Or look at Vertzorg, the Dutch home healthcare organization. Their core thing is humanity over bureaucracy. It empowers nurses to make their own decisions, build real patient connections. It's more than just service delivery. It's a whole way of being.
Yeah, those are powerful. But is there a flip side? Does this approach create new problems sometimes? You mentioned a purpose-profit paradox. Does that get tricky?
Oh, definitely. Change brings resistance, right? Especially from ingrained habits and leaders. They have to actually let go of control, which isn't easy. And yes, that paradox is real. Being truly committed to purpose might mean making choices that challenge conventional business thinking, like maybe choosing sustainable materials that cost more, or deciding not to enter a profitable market if it clashes with that deeper calling. It really forces you to ask, what does success actually look like here?
So, okay, what does this mean for you, listening right now? How does an organization actually foster this dynamic purpose? It sounds like it's got to be more than just a new motto on the wall.
It absolutely is. And what's interesting is cultivating purpose isn't always about adding something new. Often it's about unearthing a call that's been sort of buried under old mechanistic thinking. It starts with unlearning those old models and then deeply sensing for the organization's unique calling. That could be through, say, facilitated workshops, deep listening sessions with all sorts of stakeholders, or even things like purpose walks, engaging with your community, your environment to sense your impact.
It almost sounds like leaders need to trade their CEO hats for, gardening gloves. I imagine that's a tough switch.
That's a perfect way to put it. Leadership's role shifts dramatically, away from command and control towards being a gardener. You nurture the environment, create psychological safety so purpose can emerge, so people feel safe experimenting with new ideas about that purpose. Then you articulate it, but as a living statement, something that can be refined, not set in stone. You weave it into daily rhythms, maybe using purpose-driven OKRs, objectives, and key results to align efforts. And here's something interesting. Purpose fit becomes crucial in hiring. As important as skill fit, you want people whose internal compass kind of resonates with the organization's evolving North Star.
That's really practical. Okay, before we wrap up, are there common misunderstandings we should clear up? Things people get wrong about this?
Yeah, a few key ones. First, this evolutionary purpose. It's not just marketing fluff. It demands genuine, purposeful action. Second, it doesn't mean sacrificing profit. Profit is vital. It enables the organization to actually fulfill its calling. It's the fuel. And finally, by its very nature, it's not a one-off exercise. It needs continuous sensing, adapting, rearticulating. Authenticity is just crucial, especially now when people demand realness from companies.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, this deep dive basically shows evolutionary purpose as this living, breathing North Star. It fundamentally powers how these Teal organizations work, enabling that wholeness, that self-management we talked about.
Precisely. It takes courage, though, and deep listening, and being willing to keep adapting, keep unlearning the old ways.
So the question for you is, what's your organization's unique calling? That deeper reason for being? How can you start to sense that? Articulate it. Maybe transform your work from just tasks into being part of a living system's evolution. Like this journey, it's a long-term cultural shift, no doubt. But even small steps, those actionable things we talked about, they can start some really profound changes in how you work and maybe even why you work.
Welcome to the deep dive. You know, we're seeing this huge shift happening in the world of work, aren't we? These traditional sort of rigid ways of organizing, they're really struggling with today's complexity.
Absolutely. And that's where Frederic Laloux's work comes in, his framework, looking at organizational evolution. It's fascinating.
Right, especially his concept of Teal organizations. We've touched on this before. It's often seen as the most, let's say, evolved stage.
Exactly. And Teal's really built on three core breakthroughs: self-management, wholeness, and the one we want to get into today, evolutionary purpose.
Evolutionary purpose. So the big idea here, if I understand it right, is that the organization isn't just a tool or a machine somebody owns.
Precisely. It's seen more like a living system. It has its own identity, its own kind of life force, a unique direction, or, well, Lou calls it a calling.
A calling. So individuals aren't really owners in the traditional sense, or even operators.
More like stewards. The idea is you're listening to where the organization itself as a living thing naturally wants or needs to go.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into that evolutionary purpose. How is it really different from, say, a standard company mission statement?
Well, it's fundamentally different. Think of it less like a fixed map and more like a compass, a sort of true north for this living system. It's constantly adapting, co-evolving with its environment.
Not just a static goal set in stone once a year.
Not at all. It's fluid, it's dynamic. And the main driver isn't just profit or beating the competition, though those things might happen. The primary driver is really about serving some kind of greater good, making a positive contribution.
So growth, then, isn't the main goal?
Growth is more of a consequence. It happens if it helps the organization fulfill its purpose better. Like Bertzorg, the Dutch home care organization.
I've heard of them.
Their growth comes because they want to help more patients become healthy and independent. It directly serves their core purpose, you see, not just about grabbing market share.
That makes sense. It's a really different way of thinking about it. But if this purpose is so fluid, how does an organization actually figure out what it is? How do they sense it, as you say?
Sensing.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's treated as a collective capability. Everyone in the organization acts like a sensor.
Like individual cells in a body.
Kind of, yeah. Everyone's got a piece of the puzzle. Laloux uses this really powerful analogy. Think about an airplane cockpit.
Okay.
Ignoring a little low-voltage warning light, because it seems minor. That shows the danger of filtering out signals, especially those coming from people closest to the ground, the front lines.
So you need to listen to everyone. But how does that work practically? Is it just endless meetings?
Not necessarily meetings in the traditional sense. It's more about cultivating an environment where people feel safe to tune into their internal compass, that sense of inner rightness.
Inner rightness?
Yeah, asking questions like, does this decision feel right deep down? Or is this true to who I am, and is it genuinely serving the world? Intuition plays a big role here.
Okay. Any specific techniques?
One simple but effective exercise is asking, what business are we really in? It pushes teams beyond just the product or service. Like that mattress store example.
Oh, right. They're not just selling mattresses.
They're selling a good night's sleep.
Huh.
It forces a deeper look at the underlying purpose.
That's a great way to frame it. And I imagine this kind of deep, evolving purpose must have a huge impact on attracting people, right? Getting the right talent.
Oh, absolutely. It acts like a magnet. It really boosts engagement, morale. It pulls in people who are looking for more than just a paycheck, people seeking, real meaning in their work.
So how does recruitment change then? Is it still HR running the show?
Often it's the team itself that leads recruitment. The focus shifts. Yes, skills matter, but it's also about fit with the role, the culture, and crucially, that evolutionary purpose.
It sounds more like a mutual exploration.
Exactly. It's like asking, do we sense we're meant to go on this journey together? Think about Zappas.
Their onboarding process?
Yeah, offering new hires, $3,000 to quit after a few weeks if they feel it's not the right fit. That's a serious commitment to ensuring alignment with their purpose of delivering wow customer service.
That's bold. Any other examples?
Sure. FAVI, the French automotive supplier, their purpose revolves around providing meaningful work and giving and receiving love from clients. Or Patagonia, obviously, with their incredibly strong environmental purpose. That purpose attracts people who share those values deeply.
It sounds incredibly powerful when it works. But I can also see potential challenges. A purpose that's too fluid. Couldn't that lead to confusion? Maybe a lack of focus?
That's a very real concern. You mentioned creative entropy earlier, and yes, that's a risk if the purpose becomes too vague or shifts constantly without coherence.
And what about just trying to adopt these ideas? Is it easy?
No, and that leads to what some call the Teal implementation paradox, trying to adopt Teal principles superficially, like just putting self-managing teams in place without changing the underlying mindset.
That could backfire.
It can actually be worse than doing nothing. It can create ambiguity, frustration, conflict. It requires a deep, holistic shift.
So what about leadership then? If everyone is sensing, what's the role of the founder or the CEO? Are they just redundant?
Not redundant, but the role changes dramatically. They aren't the controllers, the ones setting the direction from the top down. They become more like stewards of the emergent purpose.
Stewards holding the space.
Exactly. Holding the space, trusting that something bigger, something more intelligent than any single person's plan will emerge. It means letting go of that traditional need for control, which is, it's hard.
Yeah, that sounds like a massive shift, personally and organizationally.
It really is.
So wrapping this up then, evolutionary purpose sitting alongside self-management and wholeness. It feels like it's pointing towards a fundamentally different way of working. More conscious maybe, more human.
Definitely more human-centric and potentially more sustainable, too. You can even say the Teal revolution, if you want to call it that, isn't just about new org charts or processes.
It's deeper than that.
It's really a shift in consciousness. It demands inner work from everyone involved, learning to manage our ego fears, embrace uncertainty, and trust emergence.
So the invitation for you listening is maybe to start exploring this idea of sensing. What might the purpose be within your own team, your own organization, if you really listened?
Yeah, it's less about figuring out just what your organization does and more about discovering what it feels called to become in the world. A different kind of question altogether.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.